Hello everybody, and welcome to what I know is one of your favourite types of videos. That one where I sit down and have a bit of a rant. Well, today's rant I think is going to be a quite divisive one, and I've got a good chance of ruffling a few feathers, but it's something I really desperately needed to get off my chest. Now, I shall be shortly unpacking my soapbox, and you may want to make yourselves a nice cup of tea, coffee, whatever it is that you drink. I've got mine in this very nice sort of Pennzoil Nismo-inspired mug, which was sent to me by Legacy Legends. They're not actually sponsoring this video, they just sent me these and said, we hope you like them, and I do. Unfortunately, I don't really drink much tea, so I'll probably have to fill it with Pepsi Max later, but it's a nice mug. So today, the topic is car dealers. I have been, as many of you know, looking for my new daily of late, and I have found it to be an absolute nightmare. Now, I've owned a lot of cars, over 30 of them now at age 31, but mostly I've bought and sold privately. Now, that's got its own shortfalls for sure, but generally speaking, you kind of know what it is that you're getting. I actually like buying privately because you get to speak to the owner, and when it comes to sort of more specialist vehicles, you'll get a real feeling for just how well it's been cared for, the kind of driving it's suffered, all that kind of jazz. But when it comes to dealers, I am just really tearing my hair out. And here's why. Whoever you are and however much money that you earn, a car is an expensive thing. In fact, for most of us, a car is likely to be the second most expensive thing that we'll ever own or rent after a house. And many of us might not even have one of those. So a car's got a pretty good chance of being your most expensive possession, perhaps the most expensive thing you own outright. And that means that whether you're spending £2,000 or £2 million on a car, unless you are the ruler of a small oil-rich nation, it's probably a lot of money to you. And in fact, believe it or not, I do speak to a lot of people that have much money, and even still, they don't really like being ripped off, because that's kind of how they made their money, is by making sure they got their money's worth. So the car buying experience, to me, really should be a pleasant one. After all, we're kind of moving increasingly towards a situation where, in Great Britain at least, the car is a luxury good. Over the last 18 months, many people have now transitioned to working from home, and it seems that a lot of people are going to be staying that way. You're only really going to be using the car for leisure or perhaps for the weekly shop. Many people simply do not need a car in their lives, or they don't really need a nice car anymore. And this to me means that car dealers should really be working extra hard to try and convince you of the need to spend quite so much money. After all, for years and years and years and years and years, cars have been getting increasingly more expensive, and now they've got to the stage where pretty much nobody actually buys a car cash anymore. Everyone's buying it on finance, because if you didn't do that, well, car makers wouldn't sell anything. I know a lot of people have a hard time believing this, but even more upmarket brands do tend to sell the majority of their cars on finance. Even the people that could afford to buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Porsche or something cash often don't, because they want to use the money for other things. They don't like having that much tied up in one single asset. And I kind of know the feeling. It's something I'm kind of looking at myself at the minute. How much money do I really want to have tied up in vehicles? And unfortunately, very few times have I actually had what I'd call a really positive dealer experience. So few, in fact, that it's actually very easy for me to reel off now the places that I have had a good experience. I've dealt with a couple of Ferrari dealers of late where I've had generally good experiences. A Meridian Modena, although that's been largely for servicing more than sales. I went to Dick Glover at Swindon, where I was dealing with some of the sales team. Regrettably, no, I'm not buying another Ferrari. It was for somebody else, and they were excellent. Really cannot say enough nice things about them. Genuinely very impressed. I'd always seen the building, never been in there, and they were really good people. Bell & Colville, one of my favourite dealers of all time. Lotus, Morgan, Subaru, and some other things as well. They do Saab servicing. Jamie at the Lotus side of things, he's fantastic. All the guys at Morgan, they're really good too. So I've always been very happy with that. And Stephen Eagle, Lexus and Toyota. I've been to their Ipswich branch and their Milton Keynes branch on both occasions, very briefly, but I've come away with a real sort of feeling of, yeah, that was nice. I was treated like a human being. I was told that I was a nice person. I felt like I was welcome. I felt like I'd known this place for years, even though actually it had been minutes. You would think that the more expensive that a car gets, the better the dealer experience would be. Unfortunately, this is not always true. When I bought my Lotus Evora 400 a few years ago, that was a nearly £70,000 car. In fact, list price, it was nearly £80,000. And yet I was treated like a major inconvenience. And then when my car failed spectacularly, I was told 2 years down the line, with the car still in warranty, that because I hadn't brought it to them for servicing, I was, and I quote, not their problem. Many of you that have been fans of the channel for a while will know that that's something I'm quite bitter about, have been for a long time, and will continue to be so. That's just unforgivable. I've had other dealerships in the area where I've been there not for buying a car, but I've been doing sort of work stuff, and they have been just generally quite rude, quite uppity. I have known dealers lie to my face. I have known dealers lie to my friends. I have had dealers be extremely rude to my friends. A good friend of mine was told by a Lamborghini dealership that he did not look like a Lamborghini customer. I should point out this is the same friend of mine who has recently bought a McLaren. So looks really aren't something dealers should, base their opinions on. In fact, if they were smart, most of the people that I know are either farmers or builders. For some reason, I don't know why, I know a lot of farmers, I know a lot of builders, probably because I live in the countryside. Farmers and builders have two things in common. They look like tramps and they have lots of money. The people that actually work for them all tend to dress very smart, but they don't have anywhere near as much money as the boss man. He is the one that walks in looking like he's just walked through a field, because he probably has. But it's a field that he owns, and therefore should be treated with some respect. I remember many years ago, and granted, this is about 2 decades now, going to a Mercedes dealership where we were looking for a new car for my mother, an ML, and a very expensive car. And they were phenomenally sexist. They didn't want to invite my mother into the workshop because she was a woman. And it was her car. She was going to be buying it. No, Dad could come in the workshop, not Mum though, because she's a woman. I'm sure there are probably quite a few places still around the world that are like that. Incidentally, as I have just mentioned Lamborghini, I should point out I also had a recent very positive experience at Lamborghini Pangbourne. Regrettably also, I was not actually buying a Lamborghini from there. I was doing a little bit of other YouTube stuff where a gentleman who lived nearby offered to sort of bring his car there for me to film. A gorgeous Lamborghini Diablo 6 litre, and the staff at Pangbourne, both in sales and service, I have to commend because they were fantastic. Very easy to get on with. I'd never met them before in my life. Great people. Craig was the guy I'd sort of dealt with down there. Also dealt with the parts department. Absolutely fantastic. Was ordering some stuff from Igado. Nothing was too much trouble. They were really, really good. So the decent dealer experience does exist. It's not a mythical concept. However, I think this is something that really, really needs to start filtering down to your regular dealerships. And there are two sides to this argument, I think, both of which are very valid and both of which are very important. First off, in recent times, we have seen people moving increasingly, for various different reasons, towards buying cars online. That terrifies me. I mean, that really, seriously, genuinely terrifies me for a couple of reasons. First off, I'm just kind of flabbergasted that people would spend that amount of money on buying a car just online, like it's some beef or something from Tesco's. Now, I'll confess, I did actually buy a car online and had it delivered to the house without even having seen it. So I bought something that was going to be my new daily driver, and it wound up having to go back. And it had to go back because I think the dealer used the fact that I wasn't going to see the car as an opportunity to just skimp on a whole load of things that definitely should have been done. And this was not a cheap car that I was buying. This is more than sort of 2 of the cars in my fleet. So this cannot be allowed to go on. Because people are moving to this sort of idea of buying cars online, your dealership, your traditional dealership, is in real danger. Because what's going to happen is your ordinary, BMW, Vauxhall, Ford dealer network or whatever is just going to be replaced. And what you're going to wind up with is a situation where if you want a new car, you just order it direct from the manufacturer and they'll post it to you. I mean, because what do you really need a dealer for otherwise? You'll need service centres, you'll need aftercare, you'll need points of contact. But in terms of actually selling you the car, well, if people are just going online and ordering it, well, they might as well just go online and order it direct from the manufacturer. In fact, some manufacturers are more or less doing this now, where they have car subscription services. I see Volvo's doing something like that. Jaguar are doing something like that. Other companies are going to be following suit if they haven't already. You just pay £600, £700, £800 a month, and you have a car, and you go, yeah, you know what? Actually, next month I'm going to go away. I want a convertible. So next month you have a convertible dropped off instead. And this, I think, might be how the car kind of continues to exist. 1 month you decide you want something fancier, so you just pay them an extra £500, and an F-Type R turns up instead of your regular 2-litre one, something like that. And this means that the dealership is then going to be largely redundant, certainly in terms of sales. On the other side of things, what you'll then find is for used cars, you're just going to get these massive, great big, kazoo, we buy any car type thing, car supermarkets appearing. I mean, I also despise them with a passion because, in all honesty, it's not their fault. They're providing a service. They are a business. They are just, conducting things. I don't want to stop them existing, but I kind of worry because, let's face it, any dealership that has 2,000 cars in stock, they're not really going to know the cars, are they? I think a dealership with 20 cars in stock has half a chance of actually knowing something about all the cars. But the moment you just sling that many cars into a car park, you've just turned the whole thing into just a laborious process. It's just a thing you do. It's an appliance, isn't it? It's a washing machine. It's boring. It's dull. You just go and buy one online, and then all people will really want is they'll just want the cheapest one that they can get. And it's probably going to be rubbish, and the experience is just not going to be that great. And then they'll go, yeah, we bought it, we got it online, it was all right, yeah, no, didn't really enjoy it, and then you're going to start thinking, do I really need a car? Do I need to do that? Is it really worth doing? So dealers really need to work very, very hard to justify their existence. And like I said, as the car becomes more of a luxury good, I think they need to work harder. Unfortunately, what seems to be happening in quite a few different places is that because margins aren't what they were, sales haven't been quite so good, your staff are now being pressured more and more and more to essentially just treat the customers like cattle. They're just numbers walking through the door. And this happens at all levels. This is a Ford problem, this is a Porsche problem. Less so Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley, that kind of stuff. They sell small enough numbers that they can maintain more or less a bespoke service, but like I mentioned, the problems can happen. So I think what car dealers need to do is to sort of take a step back, take stock and realise that they need to be grateful and appreciative to every person that walks through their door. Yes, there will be time wasters. Yes, there will be people who never had any intention of buying a car. On occasion, you may take someone who didn't want to buy a car and turn them into someone who does. On other occasions, you may take someone who maybe isn't quite ready to buy a car now. And I've been to dealerships on many occasions for that very reason. I know that very soon I'm going to need to buy a car, but I don't yet know what it is. So I want to do my research when I don't have the money, because it'll stop me making a rush decision. And I think if you just be honest with the sales staff about that, they'll treat you with some respect. But sometimes you'll go into somewhere like, for example, the Lexus dealership, and I went in there looking for a car for a friend, and he didn't wind up buying anything. But the experience was so positive that to this day I continue recommending said dealership to people. In fact, I would buy a Lexus based solely on the dealership experience. And I commend Lexus because I know that actually is a really important part of their branding, is making sure that the dealer experience is of the quality that you would expect. So that's a nice thing to see. I know as well, having spoken to and knowing personally a lot of car salespeople, that it's not them that's necessarily making your experience quite so horrible. It's the companies that they work for. These are great big hulking behemoths of companies that may even be owned by some overseas conglomerate, and believe you me, You are a number, and so are the staff working there. And they have to keep their numbers up. And everything, absolutely everything, is quantified, it's measured, it's compared, it's calculated. It's ridiculous. They're treated like factory workers. They're treated like Amazon workers. It's obscene. And we're not talking about just selling, I don't know, Skittles or mugs or Pepsi Max or something. We're talking about selling real nice luxury items. I cannot imagine, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't like watches, and number two, I've never done it. But I cannot imagine walking into, a Rolex shop and being told, come on, we got 2 minutes to sell you this 20 grand watch, because if we don't, out, you time waster. You would think they want to spend time with you. You want to feel like you're a part of a family. You want to feel like you're getting an experience. Lots of value-added stuff. I mean, my biggest video on the entire channel was me ranting and raving about McLaren and the poor ownership experience and dealer experience that my friends had. So there you go. There's a brand that doesn't quite have the whole dealer thing down yet. And it's just the little details. I'll always remember, people will always give me stories of like, oh, I bought a car from this dealer and they gave me a cake. They gave me a bottle of champagne. They gave me some flowers, stuff like that. I remember a story from a friend of mine, and he used to work at a Bentley dealership. And what he would do was he would make sure that, every few months or so, his customers would get sent something nice, a bottle of champagne, some nice chocolates, something like that. Just a little something to remind them that they actually mean something to the dealership. Now, I don't know why, but this cat, this cat here, that one, Florence, she has some form of like ESP. All day entirely, she has been asleep. I have not seen her. It was her 11th birthday the other day, by the way. The moment, and I talk here, I'm on the phone, speak to friends, she doesn't come in. I start recording a piece like this, or I do a live stream, and she's just drawn to this room. So if you're allergic to cats, I'm sorry, she'll be here for a little bit. Take an antihistamine, you'll probably be okay. Don't stand on the microphone. Don't you do it. So, yeah, she's distracted me now, so apologies if I wind up going over the same thing. But yeah, I think dealers need to sort of start working towards creating a better experience, because you'll find there's customers that just want the cheapest thing going. And they're always going to exist, and they're always going to be out there. But I don't think that the mainstream dealers in particular should really be fighting for those customers, because I don't think they're the sort of people that were going to ever spend that much money with you in the first place. But if somebody that's looking to come and buy a brand spanking new car, you want to treat them well. And that doesn't just mean spending loads of money on them or doing something like that. That just means time. It just means giving them your time. I know people that have worked as estate agents, and they get exactly the same thing. You're trying to sell somebody, a £1 million house, and you're told by your estate agent, you can only show them around it for 15 minutes. Like, well, I don't know about you all, but if ever I was in the position to spend £1 million on a house, I would want to take as much time as I like. If I want to take 4 hours looking around that house, I'm going to take 4 hours looking around that house, because this is a big, huge thing. A car, you're probably signing yourself up for at least 2 or 3 years worth of monthly payments. You want to make absolutely sure that is the the car for you. Oh, I remember where I was before I got distracted by the wanton feline. So my friend used to send things from the Bentley dealership to his customers, and then a new manager came in and said, "We better stop all of this." He said, "Well, why?" He's like, "Well, no, we're spending a fortune on these people." And it's like, yeah, but nowhere near the fortune that they're spending with us. If someone spends £300,000 on a car, I think we can afford to send them the odd bottle of fizzy pop. And he got told, nope, absolutely not. Nope, we've got to save money here. Nope, don't do it. And guess what happened? People realised that they could just buy their Bentley anywhere. People will travel now. People will drive all the way up to Scotland to go and buy a car if it's 500 quid cheaper, even though they'll probably spend £300, £400 on fuel in the process. That's what people will do. We live in a global economy. We live in a very globalised society now. You don't just go to your local Ford dealer, hope they've got something that will suit. If not, you'll just buy the thing that's the closest. No, we have Auto Trader, Piston Heads, eBay, we've got CarWow, we've got everything. We can get any sort of car we want from anywhere. So this should be the time now where dealers are having to work extra hard to convince people of the reason for their existence, because if they don't, they're just going to vanish. And I don't want it to happen. As you can probably tell, I don't have much love for most car dealers. They are not, let's be honest here, used car salesmen or any car salesman, they don't have a great reputation, do they? And they've worked very hard to obtain that reputation. I think now is the time when they need to work equally as hard to get rid of that reputation. And unfortunately, here's the really difficult bit, this sort of thing has to start from the top down. And this sort of thing has to really, really come from management, because your poor sales staff, you know, believe me, at least 8 times out of 10, if your salesman is being a little bit pushy or whatever with you, it probably isn't directly his or her fault. That's just the way that they're being treated by the people upstairs. I've had it recently. I've been looking at various different cars, and I now get 2 calls a day from the same bleeding dealership who I need to tell to go away, because no, I haven't yet chosen if I want to buy this car. And oh, by the way, you put the price on it up 500 quid last week, so I'm definitely not going to buy it now. So what I'm asking you all to do is, if you are buying a car, if you have been into a dealership and you have had an experience, good or bad, please do take into consideration the poor salesman, because they're probably trying their hardest. They really, really do. Some of them just don't care about cars. For some of them, it's just a job. For others, it really is their passion, and those people are out there. They do exist, so please do try and have a little bit of understanding for them. But also, do give feedback. When you get those little forms, when you are asked, you know, how was your experience today, do tell them. Do tell them if it was good. You know, if you've had a really good experience, do tell them. And I would love to invite as many people as I can in the comment section to come in and tell me what you think about car dealers, good car dealers in particular. I put a post up on Instagram recently, and this will tell you just how things have got with regards to car dealers, where I was getting very frustrated with this car dealer I've been talking to. I had gone down, so on the same day, 2 things had happened, okay? So I'll give you some examples of bad stuff, then you can give me some examples of good stuff. I went to go and see a Jaguar at a Jaguar specialist, not a main dealer, an independent, but a specialist. You know, we are the Jag place. And it was a car advertised as full service history. Very strong price, this car, for what it was. But I went down to look at it. It was a nice specification. And it's advertised as full service history. So before I even drive a car, I look at the service history. Because if the paperwork and everything doesn't add up, I don't want to even bother driving the car. It's just not worth it. It's a waste of their time, it's a waste of their money, everything else. So anyway, they give me this printout of the car, and there's a 30,000 mile gap in the service history. Jaguars these days do this online service history thing, which I hate with a passion. So you go, oh, here's your service history, you know, here's one at like 10,000 miles, here's one at 20,000 miles, and then here's one at 50,000 miles. So it's like, there's a gap in this history, lads. Oh, right. Well, that's what we've got, sir. Yeah, but there's a gap. Like, there's 30,000 miles. There should have been a service smack bang in the middle of that. And I said, well, it's a really good car, sir. There's just one owner. Like, I'm sure it may well be, but there is a big gap in this service history. Half of the, you know, this car did 30,000 miles. That's 15,000 miles more than it should have done without a service. Now, maybe it did get serviced at the right time, and you know, the book didn't get stamped or whatever. They forgot to enter it into the data system, whatever. Like, it happens. So I said, well, it's only a one-owner car. You must have the owner's number, you know, phone them. No, actually, sir, what it is, well, we get the car in from the Jaguar dealer. Ah, so what you mean is you get the rejects from the Jaguar dealer that they actually can't sell because it has a 30,000 mile gap in its service history. Well, we couldn't say that, sir. I was like, well, yeah, but that's the truth, though, isn't it? So, okay, that's out the window. That's annoying. I've driven 2 and a bit hours to come to look at your car, and the most basic bit of it, full service history, doesn't actually have. So there was another vehicle from another premium brand, and I from an independent, not a specialist, just a general independent, phoned them up. Hello, yeah, I've seen you've got this car for sale. Can I come and look at it, please? Oh, no, we're doing appointment only, sir, because COVID, whatnot. Yeah, fine. Can it come down in about an hour? No, sir, we're doing appointment only. COVID, you know, you can't come down. I'll get a £10,000 fine. Which, by the way, is horse droppings, because dealers are now open. You do not need to technically, legally make an appointment to visit a car dealer. Some of them are still on appointment-only basis, but there is no legal requirement anymore for that to be the case. You can just walk in. They're not going to be fined 10 grand. I said, okay, well, can I make an appointment for an hour's time? That gets you out of trouble, doesn't it? Oh, no, well, actually, sir, yeah, I'm not really sort of around today, so could you maybe come down tomorrow? And it's like, why did you have to open with this whole COVID nonsense lie? Like, COVID's caused plenty of inconvenience to all of us, I think we can agree, over the last year or so. So there's no need to attribute it to, with things that it didn't actually do. This is just infuriating, and I just thought, I'm not going to come down tomorrow. A, because I'll be very far away from you tomorrow, and B, because your first thing you've done to me is lie. And is it like a habit? Like, do they just do it? Like, are they all alcoholics? I mean, like, that's what alcoholics do, isn't it? Like, they just lie. Like, and I don't know why. Like, half the time they don't even have a reason for it. Like, what colour shirt are you wearing, James? Oh, it's yellow. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. This is yellow. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Let's just look at that. That's yellow. That's yellow, that. Like, I don't understand. I do not understand. Like, and maybe it's because I care about the car. Like, maybe that's why it bothers me so much. Like, maybe, people don't care that, their local Tesco's is just a bit like, the staff are a bit like, because they don't care, because they're just doing some shopping. And maybe nobody really cares about the car anymore. Maybe. But I would like to think that if dealers started once again doing things right, doing things better, treating the customer like the highly valuable thing that they are, rather than some sort of muddy, scruffy inconvenience that walks through the door on occasion, I think maybe the car would have a fighting chance. Maybe in the next sort of 20, 30 years, we won't see the end of it because people will go, you know what, no, yeah, I know I don't need a car, but I feel special owning a car. I'm looked after, I'm treated nicely. And my friend James, he got sent a beautiful, gorgeous yearbook from Aston Martin. Yes, I know it's Aston Martin, and these are the things you should be getting. But just being given these small tokens from your dealer can mean so much. It's just this little thing. Like when you're in a relationship with somebody, it can be the small details that remind them that you really love them and you care for them very much. A little peck on the cheek occasionally. I'm not suggesting, by the way, that your car dealer pops around every now and again for a quick hug and a peck on the cheek. No, that's probably not necessary. But just little things, just to see how you're getting on, just to ask you how you are, all that kind of jazz, that would be lovely. And maybe stop selling ludicrous faux detailing nonsense that doesn't really do anything for 300 quid. That might be a good start as well. But yeah, there's a few things from me that I wanted to get off my chest. So I would now invite you, please, in the comment section down below, to share with me positive and uplifting dealer experiences to give me a little bit more faith in this industry of which I'm a part now. It's odd. I rarely deal with dealers because I tend to just deal straight with manufacturers. But having recently had some interaction with them, I've just become frustrated, as you can probably tell. So anyway, that's a little bit from me. Thank you all for listening to my waffle as always. I really appreciate your custom. And yeah. Maybe they could give you a mug. Yeah, Legacy Legends mug. I like these. Good quality. Cheers.